Well, after intense pressure from progressive groups, Governor Jan Brewer vetoed Arizona's religious freedom bill. She said it could potentially create more problems than it solves. Now, you've heard opponents of the bill argue that it would discriminate against gays. But what you haven't heard is that the bill contains the exact same language as the Religious Freedom Restoration Act of 1993. Here's some quick history. It was introduced by then Congressman Chuck Schumer, a Democrat. It was supported by evangelicals, Jewish groups, even the ACLU. It passed unanimously in the House and in the Senate by a vote of 97-3. And it was signed into law by President Bill Clinton 8 months after it was introduced. Now, in 1999, Arizona passed an identical bill. This year, Cathi Herrod suggested some minor clarifications on Arizona's law. That was what was vetoed by Governor Brewer. Cathi Herrod now joins me. Cathi, I've been amazed at the controversy here. This was a very relative minor change to a bill that was non-controversial in 1999, 1993 at the federal level, and was non-controversial up until this past week. Why the controversy?
Well, in my view, Governor, a very small minority was able to make hay out of it, to make the bill about something it wasn't, and the veto was really for a bill that didn't exist.
Because there were accusations this was going to bring back Jim Crow. Look, I lived through the Jim Crow laws of the Deep South where I grew up. I couldn't find anything common to that at all in this bill. It was very minor language changes. So can you help our audience understand exactly what did this bill do?
Senate Bill 1062 simply clarified and updated Arizona's Religious Freedom Restoration Act. As we saw courts around the country basically saying that if the government wasn't a party to the lawsuit, then the Religious Freedom Restoration Act would not apply. So that was the main clarification, is that an individual or a business could assert their religious freedom rights whether or not the government was a party to the lawsuit. So it would be intended to help the Little Sisters of the Poor, the photographer, the wedding cake baker, Conestoga Woods, Hobby Lobby, those types of businesses where the government is trying to force them to forego their religious beliefs.
It was not discriminatory, but it would say that, if, for example, if I was the owner of a Jewish delicatessen and was kosher, and someone came in and said, I want you to cater my wedding, and they said, I want you to do bacon-wrapped shrimp, and as the Jewish delicatessen owner who was kosher, I said, I'm not going to do that, then I would be protected because they wouldn't force me, the government, to do something that was against my conscience. That's the kind of thing we're talking about.
Exactly. That's what it's about, that Americans, Arizonans, should be free to live and work according to their faith. That's what we're fighting for in this country.
Stay with me, Cathi, because when we come back, I want to talk more about how this application would really work and why it's so controversial and why it's so unnecessary. And we'll tell you how you can link up and read it for yourself, something I'm convinced very few people have done. We will be right back with Cathi Herrod. We're back with Cathi Herrod, president of the Center for Arizona Policy. May of 2013, Star Transport in Peoria, Illinois, had a couple of Muslim truck drivers. They refused to deliver a truckload of alcohol. They weren't required to drink it, just deliver it as part of their truck driving duties. They were fired. They went to the EEOC, who sued the company and won and made them reinstate, said they had to be accommodated. Now, here's my point. If it's the government policy to accommodate a Muslim not to deliver a truckload of alcohol, what you were really asking for is that there was a photographer or a caterer, someone who would sell any item in the store to anybody, including a person who was gay, but they wouldn't necessarily participate in a same-sex wedding. Is that basically what this bill would have protected him from?
That is, it would have. The bill 1062 would have protected the photographer, the florist, from having to participate in basically approving a same-sex commitment ceremony or wedding. Or you take the pharmacy owner who doesn't want to distribute abortion medication or morning after pills. That, you know, the nutshell still was that business owner, individuals should be able to live according to their faith and not have the government compel them. This is about government coercion and what the power of the law is going to be. Simple clarification to our law.
Now, bluntly, you've been accused of a lot of stuff over the past week or so. Are you homophobic?
No.
Are you a hater?
No.
Do you want to see people put out of business and destroyed or discriminated against?
Absolutely not. I have a great concern that we as Americans, that we have the freedom to exercise our religious beliefs and we're not confined to the four walls of our church, that every American, whether you have faith or no faith, that you have the freedom to do what our founders intended, to live out our convictions.
But this would be applicable to people who are Christian, who are Muslim, who are Jewish, for that matter, who I guess, are Zoroastrians. It would just give them the right to say, look, I want to do business with everybody because that's what I'm in business to do, but if there's something specific you ask me to do that violates my religious convictions, and the criteria was pretty tough even to establish that it really was part of your faith.
Exactly. And we even put additional safeguards in the bill because the way these laws operate, if you assert your religious belief, then you still have to go to court, and then the court does a balancing test. So that the bill, if anything, was providing more safeguards so that someone couldn't just claim anything for their religious belief. It also would protect, for example, a photographer who didn't want to be hired by my organization because they don't agree with the convictions that we stand for. So it works both ways.
Well, we're going to put on the screen a contact to my website, MikeHuckabee.com. If you go there, you can look at the bills for yourself. Read them. Tell me what's controversial, because I've heard all this talk this week, and I just want people to be confronted with the facts and the truth. So look at the bills, read it for yourself, and then you decide. I think that's probably the most effective thing we could do. Cathi, thank you very much for helping to clear this all up.
Thank you, Governor.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.